Hello, welcome or welcome back to Table Flipping Housewife. I found this cute little dresser on Facebook Marketplace. I loved the details within the design. Unfortunately, it's completely made of particle board, and it had random pieces of hardware on the edges, the sides that serve no purpose. Won't recognize them when I'm done. As usual, I started by removing the hardware so that I could properly clean the piece. When I went to remove those two random pieces of hardware on both sides, I was able to get the front off, but the bolt remained stuck in the furniture. I couldn't push it in and I couldn't pull it out. When I looked inside the drawer, I still couldn't see where I could pull the bolt out, so I removed the entire back of the dresser.
What in the world?
I still couldn't reach it.
That's a bummer.
Nonetheless, I proceeded to clean it with warm water and Dawn dish detergent, removing all the hardware as I worked my way down, and then I rinsed it off with cool, clean water and immediately dried it. I tried to remove those wooden pieces, thinking maybe I could reach the bolt that way, but that was unsuccessful. So I used my Dremel to cut off what was exposed and to drill out what I could so that I could patch it up later with putty. So I noticed while cleaning it that this entire thing is fabricated with MDF. In fact, when I was washing it, I had to quickly dry it. So because of that, I'm noticing that along the bottom of the dresser, there is a lot of wear and tear simply from moving the piece. I'm going to Bondo that to make it strong again. But then I also thought that I would add some trim to the bottom just to kind of further reinforce the edges as people are moving the piece around. There are a couple of spots on the dresser that I want to caulk with some paintable caulk. Mine's dried out, so I've cut this end off. But I'm going to go ahead and caulk here, let it dry before I sand and put a second coat of primer on. You'll notice right here, the spray wasn't coming out very well. The width of the spray itself, the width band, was very narrow. It was taking me a long time to spray. It was a little confusing at first. I had to fiddle with it. Now I can already tell I don't have full coverage. I'm not overlapping properly. So I'll catch that on the second and third coat. Again, I should be getting a wider spray width. I don't know how to explain that. I just went in to get more paint in the sprayer, and this one's going on much faster. I think that perhaps I didn't thin the paint with enough water when I first started to spray, but you'll notice that with a little extra water, this goes much faster. See how much wider that spray pattern is? That was much better. So I'll let that dry and I'll come back and we'll sand it with very fine grit sandpaper, maybe 400 very lightly, wipe off the dust, and then I'll put on a second coat. I think I could have gone with just 2 coats of paint, but I had to touch up a couple little places this morning, and so I just wanted to give a real quick spray over the entire thing so that those little touch-ups would blend in. I have used 2/3 of this 16-ounce container of paint. So that's not bad for a dresser. Again, though, I probably could have gotten away with not doing that 3rd coat. So just to give you an idea. Now I am gonna go ahead and clean the nozzle of my sprayer because my next step is to put a coat of poly on it. And so I wanna make sure that my sprayer nozzle is gonna be clean of any chalk or other debris, but I'm not going to clean out my vessel because I want the poly to be a little bit tinted with the paint. So, and it just saves me from having to clean the container as well. I ended up spraying 2 coats of the polyurethane. Chalk paint is very porous and flat. It needs to be top coated. So I waited for the top coat to dry a couple of hours, lightly scuff sanded, and applied a second coat. The following morning, I was looking at the piece and it looked beautiful, but it looked flat, like it needed some definition. So I contemplated using dark wax, which I'd never used before. I don't want it to be very subtle. I just want this pretty lady to have a little bit of eyeliner on. Okay, so this drawer is done. This one is not. All right, to take my rag into the wax and rub it around. What I want to avoid is these straight lines. So I'm gonna go in just a second. I'm going to smooth, oopsies, smooth those out. Clear wax now and kind of blend that in. And then it was time to add the hardware. Look at the length of these bolts on the hardware. Good grief. I ended up borrowing a bolt cutter from a friend and cut off those extended pieces there.